Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters news video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do a special news video here, at least when it comes to an update related to a bit of viral news that took over a lot of websites a couple of weeks back. If you recall, I kind of alluded to this very briefly when it debuted. I wanted to wait and see though what the final reports were, because at least to me when I first saw the information I was thinking, you know what, some of this info doesn't seem right, and there was also some notions too that it could have been faked, but at least in this case it has to do with this. Remember a couple of weeks back, around May 16th or so, there was this weird animal-like creature that was shot, I believe somewhere there in Montana, Denton, Montana to be specific, and a bunch of pictures were taken by the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Association, and in it you'll see this. It was this wolf-like creature that just stood out in some odd ways. Like, it looked like a wolf, it looked like a dog, but not necessarily both. Like, it wasn't one or the other. It was this weird mishmash of attributes. Like, for example, its fur was considered longer than usual. It also had a larger head and snout than usual too. And then probably the thing that stood out the most, at least in the first inspection, seemed to be both the ears, which were also larger than usual, and then its legs, just the way it was positioned, it looked like they were shorter as well. So again, it was just slightly off. Like, let's say if somebody were to take a look at a wolf from far away and then try to characterize it, they would be off from, because they didn't see it from up close. And this such was the case here. Like, this just didn't look quite right. Well, it kind of took over the bit of news for a good while, because people were thinking that this is proof that there's a new cryptid that's been found. I mean, there was a lot of people staying out there that this was this new type of wolf-like dog, something that was just, let's say, uncommon, but now we have proof of this too. Luckily enough, though, reason and science came into play, because the department there, that Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, decided, let's go ahead and let's do a DNA test. We're gonna find out exactly what this thing is. Well, cut to now nearly basically a month later, and we have the results. So are you ready? When it comes to these results, I'll include the link for it below here from CBS News. It turns out that this thing is actually a wolf. It is a wolf, a 100% dark brown wolf to be specific. Gray wolf, as has been described on this part too. So here's how it goes. The DNA was taken. It was sent off to some labs, in this case the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They have a forensic laboratory there in Ashland, Oregon. They did a bunch of tests. Essentially, all they did was just take the DNA from this and sample it against thousands of others collected samples from wolves, coyotes, and dogs. I've heard of this too. Remember, I mentioned this in one of my other recent videos, how a lot of times in the sea and in the waters, there's collection of DNA from the sea itself to try to determine what type of fish are around that area, and all they do is just use it against samples of thousands of other fishes. And in this case, same concept here, but it put it down in this case to the wolf, coyote, or dog category, and it was an instant match. In fact, there was one of the officials there from the agency stated the conclusion was clear. This animal is a gray wolf from the northern Rocky Mountains. In fact, that area there houses plenty of these wolves. There's around at least 900 or so that happen to be within that area. So somewhere along the way, this creature just happened to be, I guess, moving across and went over to this location there in Denton, Montana, and there it was shot. I can't remember if it was shot as a hunting thing, like if it was a game or something along those lines, or if it was shot because it was just being like there was control of the animal population there by the agency to ensure, in other words, that this thing was not creating havoc with a lot of the other animals there. Either way, though, it came across that area, wrong place at the wrong time, and then it was shot. And in fact, it was found to be this. Like, here's all the specifics. This gray wolf measured 45 inches in total length, weighed about almost 85 pounds, It was a female, estimated to be about 2 to 3 years old. So, in this case, kind of a letdown, everybody, but it turns out this bizarre wolf like cryptid, the one that was taking over the internet a couple of weeks back, and it was going to be proof in this case of a new creature in the world of cryptids, ain't nothing essentially but a gray wolf. So again, sometimes science, sometimes a real world comes into play, and in this case, it absolutely did, and it ensured at least that we found 100% evidence of the truth here. But it was interesting to read all those theories, all those samples. I remember again too, there was the notion that this thing could be a relative of Bigfoot. I think what not Bigfoot, but a mixture of some kind of weird creature that like if bears are the certain size and then Bigfoot is another one, like it was something like this. What was interesting, what made a lot of people scratch their heads about this creature, probably were the pictures, the photos themselves, just the way it was positioned, just the way it looked, the angles especially. It pronounced a lot of things on this creature, because it turns out when it was inspected there at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they were able to lay it out completely and take the true measurements, they found that those variations, everything that I mentioned earlier, ain't exactly, they're not unusual. Like it's the same exact expected sizes in terms of its ears, in terms of its legs, in terms of its snout, etc., for a regular gray wolf. So it turns out that the pictures were just creating a weird illusion of some sort. But what do you guys think when it comes to this latest bit of news? Kind of a bummer, but at least in this case, again, we got to the truth, and we have the rest of the world to find, again, more interesting animals. So again, just thought I would share this to everyone here. It's very important sometimes to just take a wait and see approach when it comes to this stuff, because one can start spouting out a bunch of theories, a bunch of ideas, and then at the end of the day, it's just a complete 180 in terms of the reality. So, all right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.